What is going on, deck builders? Welcome back to yet another episode of Deck Tech Arcade. I'm your friendly neighborhood host, Alex, and today I have a terrifying Grixis deck in store for you, commanded by the infamous Nekusar the Mindrazer. You know the drill. Deck builders, let's deck tech. Nekusar the Mindrazer takes something we all know and love, drawing cards, and turns it into something absolutely terrible. Wheel effects, which force our opponents to shuffle in or discard their hands and draw new cards, are a natural fit alongside the Mindrazer. The idea is to severely punish our opponents every single time they draw a card or discard a card. This is an oppressive deck that wants to control our opponent's hands and the board state. If you see that blue mana symbol in the casting cost, you already know we've got a good grip of counterspells and we're not afraid to use them. We've also got a variety of spicy options for removing any threats that might be trying to stop us from taking an iron grip on the board state. Nekusar's biggest weakness is that everybody hates him. If you go to play this deck, you have to go into it with the mentality that you will be public enemy number one. But with a little bit of protection and some backup options, you'll always be able to put up a fight, no matter how the odds are stacked against you. Heyo, no surprise here, we've got a lot of mana rocks. Specifically, I'm focused on mana rocks with a low casting cost and that can tap for any of our three colors. That way we can get off to a quick start and fix our mana at the same time. We've also got an Expedition map, which we can use to fetch out Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, or Cabal coffers. Put these two together and you can make insane amounts of black mana. And our underrated card of the day award goes to Nightscape Familiar. Making our red and blue spells one colorless cheaper to cast makes pulling off our degenerative plays that much easier. And because Grixis is just the friendliest color shard out there, we have a few demon summoning rituals that will jumpstart us in the black mana department. Priority number one with Nekusar online is to force our opponents to draw a lot of cards. Kami of the Crescent Moon and Master of the Feast are good examples of creatures that start off seeming really friendly, then over time become really obnoxious. Whirlpool Warrior, Magus of the Wheel, and Jace's Archivist are our wheel effect creatures. Jace's Archivist is the best of the bunch. If you can keep him alive, his ability is highly abusable. There are 6 additional wheel spells in this deck. Most of them have a focus on forcing our opponents to discard their hands before drawing new cards. As you'll soon see, we get a lot more value out of our opponents discarding their hands instead of shuffling their hands back into their library. The only wheel missing here is Wheel of Fortune, which happens to be a pretty expensive reserved list card, so if you can afford that, definitely add it to this deck. We've also got some nifty artifacts like Anvil of Bogarden at our disposal. It's pretty simple really, the more cards we force our opponents to draw, the faster they lose life. And you better believe Nekusar has a few nasty tricks up his sleeve with cards like Curiosity and Ophidian Eye. These cards enable us to do a terrible thing. Draw a card every single time we damage one of our opponents with Nekusar's card draw ability. Helm of the Ghast Lord is particularly potent. Now, every single time our opponents draw a card, they have to discard a card, and we draw a card as well. Brutal. Oh, and did I happen to mention that every time our opponents discard a card, they're going to take damage, give us 2 black mana, a 2/2 zombie token, or help us draw cards? And because Nekusar is just such a friendly guy, why not have an Underworld Dreams and a Fate Unraveler around? That way, every time our opponents draw, they can take 2 or even 3 damage. Oh, and let's not forget about the friendly neighborhood Chasm Skulker. This squid friend, when he croaks, will give us a legion of angry squid tokens. And because we're classy around here at the Deck Builders Society, of course we have a little infect on hand. That way we can take Nekusar's damage dealing trigger and instead turn it into infect counters. And of course I've included this sly little devil Notion Thief. Pair him with a wheel effect and you effectively get rid of your opponent's hand and they can't draw any cards and we fill our hand with all the cards. Oh, and looky here, the Isochron Scepter Dramatic Reversal combo. Why not turn our slew of mana rocks into infinite mana that we can then pump into a spell like Prosperity and kill everybody instantly? I have a dream that someday you will use Dream Halls to discard meaningless cards to set up monstrous plays that will destroy your enemies. Seriously though, Dream Halls is stupid good, especially in a deck with a ton of wheel effects. Surprising, right? The blue deck has plenty of counterspells on hand to protect Nekusar and our precious combo pieces. I always like to keep a Pyroblast and a red Elemental Blast on hand because I'm stuck in blue heavy metas. However, you might not be, and if that's the case, switch these out for different blue counterspells or for targeted creature or artifact removal. It's also important to keep bounce spells like Chain of Vapor or Croesus Charm close at hand. There's always going to be some annoying enchantment floating around out there, and Grixis really struggles to deal with enchantments. It's also important to have really good mass removal on hand. We can't let these aggro players try and stunt on us. We have to have ways of eliminating a lot of creatures quickly. Cyclonic Rift and Vandal Blast are great equalizers if our opponents get ahead, and if we happen to be in the lead, they're an amazing way of setting our opponents back to the Stone Age. Next time on Deck Tech Arcade. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Deck Tech Arcade. I'll be back in a few days with a brand new video. Until then, you know the drill. Stay classy, deck builders. I'll see you next time.